Indiana has won the Big Ten championship. They said it on the Fox broadcast. This is their first Big Ten championship for football since 1967. No, this isn't basketball. This is football. You can pinch yourself. This is actually happening. Unreal. I mean, I know and understand that this was the number 2 team in the nation. They earned their spot there. They belonged there. They're a high pedigree team. Curt Cignetti has elevated the expectations in Bloomington and Indiana. Don't get me wrong. But still, to see this team actually get to the mountaintop and see the Indiana Hoosiers win the Big Ten championship will still and always will be surreal to me. It's unbelievable, but I'm so happy for Indiana fans. I mean, they got blown out in basketball earlier today, and so you got a massive low point and a massive high point if you're an Indiana fan. So big things happening up in Bloomington right now. The pace at which Curt Cignetti is building this program is mind-blowing. I really don't know if we've seen a turnaround of this magnitude in college football history, just from where Indiana was as a program with, I believe it's a 47% winning percentage all time, and they've been down for so many years. Curt Cignetti comes in, has them in the playoff year 1. Year 2, you're Big Ten champions. You're the number 1 team in the country, and Fernando Mendoza is going to win the Heisman next week. It's inevitable. That's going to happen. It's surreal stuff that's happening. This is like something that you create in a movie. You've got the ultimate blue blood of the Big Ten, who's the odds-on favorite to win the national championship, defending national champions, best roster in college football, and you slow them down and pull that thing off. I mean, absolutely. I know India is number 2 team in the country, so I don't want to blow it out of proportion. But in a way, it still feels like a Cinderella. It still feels like an upset. It still feels like a storybook ending. But so incredibly happy for Indiana. One thing that my big takeaway while I was watching this game is, I know there's a lot of chatter in college football about money and about roster construction and about the teams with the most money becoming the most dominant during the NIL era because they can get, quote-unquote, any player that they want. Well, that's all good and well. But you've got to be able to develop those players. And this Indiana team is an example of that. Indiana is not a team that's loaded with 4 and 5 stars. There's more 3 stars than anything on this team. Charlie Becker, your leading receiver. White Boy Saturday, by the way. Charlie Becker time. Love it. My guy had 126 receiving yards off of 6 receptions. He had an electric night, had a long of 51 yards for reception tonight. He was a 3-star prospect. All right. Kaylon Black, Indiana's running back, 3-star prospect. Roman Hemby, 3-star prospect. Bunch of 3-star guys on this Indiana team. Curt Cignetti and the staff, they develop them. I don't care how much money your program has. I don't care what guys you bring into your program if you can't develop them. Look at Jimbo Fisher in Texas Tech years ago, the most talented recruiting class ever, went 5-7. They couldn't develop them. Indiana's chock full of 3-stars. They're developing these guys, and they were going up against 4 and 5 stars at every position tonight. And tonight, the stars didn't matter. And maybe it's showing how flawed that system actually is, because I've had question marks about that. As a lot of your successful guys in the NFL are 3 and 2 stars, some even 0 stars. And a lot of 5 stars bust in college, or they do when they get to the NFL. It's all about development. It's all about character. Yes, it's important to have talent. It's important to have skills. But how do you maximize them? How do you develop them? Curt Cignetti and the staff have an incredible system together when it comes to developing these guys. And Fernando Mendoza, just several Heisman moments tonight, he locked it up. Whenever Indiana needed a big play on 3rd down, Fernando Mendoza was there to deliver it. If you look at his stat line, I mean, It was a good performance, 15 for 23. He was consistent, 222 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 reception. He had a good night, but it was the moments that he stepped up and some of the passes that he threw. Like that one pass that he had to Charlie Becker for a first at one point in the game. I mean, it was an absolute dime, the way that he fit that thing in there. Some of the best passes I've seen thrown in college football this year were thrown by Fernando Mendoza tonight. And Indiana's defense generating pressure more than I was expecting them to tonight. I mean, that Ohio State O-line has been dominant all year long. Again, hasn't really been challenged much, but they were tonight. They were tonight, and Indiana's pressure rates, I mean, they were in that backfield all night, sacked Julian Saint a couple times in big spots. Julian Saint got sacked 5 times by Indiana. That was not on my bingo card tonight. So they played such a physical brand of football, and that's it too. It's the attitude that this team embodies. And I said this about Alabama earlier. Another team full of blue chippers, 4 stars, 5 stars. They don't know how to tackle. They don't play with intensity. They don't play with aggression. They don't play physical. They got out-physical by Georgia all day today. Indiana, full of 3 stars, out-physicaled Ohio State full of 4s and 5s. And that's what won this game. It is all coaching. It is all development. I can't hammer that point down enough. And so this is just such a massive win for this Indiana program. They are for real. I had my question marks going in this game. I'll be honest. Look, I hold myself accountable on this show. I had Ohio State winning this game in a blowout. I was dead wrong. Dead wrong. Indiana fans, come at me. I'll throw my hands up. I was wrong. I'll admit when I was wrong. Indiana is for real, and this team is absolutely capable of winning a national championship. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Ohio State here, because there's something I said in my preview video about this game a few days ago that I want to hammer down on here. I said that if there is a point in this game in which Ohio State gets punched in the mouth, how do they respond? Because they hadn't been challenged all year. I mean, honestly, just for the hell of it, I'm going to pull up their schedule here and just rattle it off. Challenge in the first game of the year, Texas, then Grambling, then Ohio, then on the road to Washington, okay. Minnesota, Illinois, decent challenge. Wisconsin, Penn State, losing record. Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers, the big challenge, Michigan. Barely any challenges on that schedule at all. So my question was, if Ohio State gets punched in the mouth, which they hadn't much this year because of their talent composite compared to their strength of schedule, which is 46th in the nation, how are they going to respond? And I think that Indiana packed more of a punch than Ohio State was expecting. Ohio State hadn't been challenged like this yet this year. They hadn't been punched in the mouth like this year. And they were frozen. They didn't know how to respond. They were dry, stagnant offense, couldn't move the ball, failed to capitalize on opportunities. They looked like a deer in the headlights, really, in the second half. I compared them to Georgia back in 2021 when they played Alabama in that SEC championship. Georgia hadn't trailed that year. Alabama punches them in the mouth in the second quarter, and they're, again, frozen like a deer in the headlights. Didn't know how to respond. Ohio State was the same exact way tonight. And this game, in so many ways, it's freaky how this game reminds me of the Michigan game last year. I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but it's actually the same score, too. 13-10. Good start for Ohio State. Just they looked like your typical Ohio State to start this game. And then they just looked out of rhythm. And they could never get back in it. They could never get comfortable again. They could never get in sync again. And it was the same thing that Michigan brought last year. They brought pressure. They brought blitz packages. And it confused Ohio State. And they didn't know how to respond to getting punched in the mouth. And they ultimately just could never get comfortable, could never get in that rhythm again. And they stayed stagnant at 10 points. And then similar to that Michigan game last year, there were certain points in this game where you expected Ohio State to tie the game or take the lead, in which they didn't. And it subsequently killed their momentum. Going for it on fourth down in the red zone and in the third quarter. I'll be honest with you, that was an awful play call from Ryan Day. And it's part of the reason for what cost them this game. And then the missed field goal, the missed 27-yard field goal in the fourth quarter. I mean, if I'm an Ohio State fan, this game just felt haunted to me. Because it was a mixture of that Michigan game last year and then the Georgia Peach Bowl several years ago, the missed field goal, the 27-yarder. I mean, that's a basic elementary field goal that you make in practice all the time. Completely froze under pressure and hooked that thing, shanked that thing. I couldn't believe what I saw. I mean, my jaw was dropped for like a solid 30 seconds. But it was those two plays right there. I mean, we're having a different conversation. It's 16-13. Ohio State wins. You make that field goal. You settle for three. I mean, hopefully he makes it. I mean, I don't know how much confidence Ohio State's going to have in their kicker from here on out. But, instead of going for it on fourth down, you settle for at 3. We're having a different conversation right now. But Ohio State, in points where I expected them to elevate and execute and take control of this game, they never did. And you want to say, just for the sake of FPI and talent composite, that Ohio State's the better team. But are they really? How do you define better? Ohio State has better athletes, but Indiana just looked better developed. They looked better coached tonight. And this is part of the reason why Ohio State fans get frustrated with Ryan Day sometimes. I respect the guy. I respect his accolades. He's a national champion. But there are some games that Ohio State gets into, and they're just puzzlingly stagnant. That's where they were tonight. They had these just stagnant stretches where they're going 3 and out, or they're not executing, and it's puzzling for the amount of talents that's on this team. The Ohio State, some bright spots going into the playoff. Like, I'm not freaking out about Ohio State because they were in this exact spot last year. They lost the game 13-10, got embarrassed. At least this was by the number 2 team in the nation. But they got humbled right before going into the playoff, and then they went in and dominated. Maybe they do that. I mean, you got Jeremiah Smith, you got Carnell Tate, you got Caleb Downs, you got Bo Jackson, you got Julian Say. I mean, you've got a hell of a roster. Maybe you just hit your stride again like you did last year. Maybe this is just a blip on the radar for Ohio State. But maybe it is exposing something deeper. Time will tell. Carnell Tate had a decent night. Jeremiah Smith had a pretty good night. But Brandon Inniss got locked up all night, which surprised me because he had a really good game against Michigan last week. And so I'm not freaking out if you're Ohio State. I mean, this was number 1 against number 2. This was like LSU and Alabama in 2011. Only this was at the championship stage. And so somebody was going to win this thing. Somebody was going to lose. The loser, especially by 3 points, can't freak out. You can't overreact. Ohio State, I think, will be just fine. This is still a top 3 team in the nation. It's Ohio State. I expect this team to be winning right on time. But Indiana's better than a lot of us expected. Indiana's for real. That's my conclusion. You throw Georgia up there too. I think you throw Texas Tech up there as well. Those are your 4 best teams in the nation. Indiana, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas Tech. It's cut and dry right there. Those teams are your gold standard right there, and it's not even debatable. But huge win tonight for Indiana. I'm very happy for y'all, and I can't wait to see what this team does in the playoffs. I mean, I know we saw them lose in the first round last year to Notre Dame. This team has grown so much since then, and I think that they're poised to make a very deep run, and I think that Ohio State could be as well. But I'm curious to see where they put these teams from. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Indiana will be number 1 in the country. I think both these teams earned a bye. I'm expecting Ohio State to be number 3, with Georgia being above them, and Texas Tech at number 4. But these are 2 of your best teams in the nation, and this was a great game. It was a low scoring game. It was a physical game. It was a marginal game. But as a neutral fan watching this, I truly, genuinely enjoyed watching every moment of it. It was high quality football. It was a great matchup between 2 high caliber teams. And so, like I said, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Central Time, noon Eastern, we are going live for the release of the College Football Playoff Final Bracket Selection Sunday. My boy Luke Close and I will be on there reacting as it's released. Of course, everybody's wondering where Alabama's going to be, where Miami's going to be, where Notre Dame's going to be, how the ACC fits in. Do we get 2 G5s? We get all those questions answered tomorrow. But I'm excited to see y'all back on here bright and early tomorrow morning. It's been a hell of a weekend. It's been a fun weekend for content. I've been loving doing this with y'all this weekend, and can't wait to continue doing it tomorrow. It will be an hour show as well, as will be hard stop right before the NFL starts. But thank y'all for watching tonight, and congratulations once again, Hoosier fans. Y'all deserve it. Have a great night.